the next pope. I think it's any confirmed Catholic is eligible for the papacy. So I believe, if I remember correctly. So we are both candidates. Yeah. We are both candidates.
I promise you, I will not be on one of those ballots.
We believe in all the F words: faith, family, football, and fitness. Check us out on the Richard Neese Podcast every Saturday morning on WKUL.
Please subscribe. Please help us out by growing the channel. We want to help good people get to a better place. Hey everybody, Richard Neese here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Richard Neese Podcast. As always, I have Dominic Gill with me.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, or in the afternoon. Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are, whatever time it is.
So we pre-record. We're on YouTube. We're on the radio. We're on several different spaces. Dominic, you can list off all those places if folks want to subscribe, like, click on
quick rundown. Please like, subscribe to our different channels. Follow us wherever on that right there. We're live on, well, not live. We're live on the radio today, I guess. We'll see on that. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Just started the Rumble channel. All of them at the Richard Neese Podcast. And also TikTok, which, always nice and controversial there for everybody. So the other day I got called a wannabe Confucius. So, I was a little confused on it. I had to Google who that was. After that. It's a joke. Yeah.
Deep in thought.
Yeah. Just offering your opinion makes you a philosopher.
So we believe in helping good people get to a better place. We're trying to clean up our community. We're trying to give real life advice from our successes, from our failures in business, in construction and real estate, being dads, being Christians, being Catholics. We're trying to give a different perspective, one that you might not hear that much, but that is all around you, about doing the work, about being a good person, about trying to do the right thing. And by doing that, we hope that you get some value from it. We hope that you share. We hope that you help spread our message across the board. We've got some kind of diverse topics today that we're going to be talking about. The first of which, Dominic, I know you've been doing some research about the Pope, and the Pope passed away recently, so we'll have a new Pope coming into the Catholic Church. You're going to have to give me the 411. I haven't seen a whole lot of resources on that on cable TV, on the news, unless you look specifically into the Catholic Church. What's going on with that?
So obviously what's going on right now is we're still in the process of the 9 days of mourning before the College of Cardinals all get together for the conclave. So just kind of break down, there is a group of cardinals throughout the world that these are of the highest offices in the church. We are a hierarchy. We do have a hierarchy in leading up to the Pope. And during this time, the College of Cardinals are going to elect our next Pope, our next Papa. And so they have to go through the conclave, which you don't really, we speculate a lot what goes on, but all we do know about it is that is sworn to secrecy and all the ballots are burned beforehand. So there were some leaks throughout the years about what went on behind the scenes or whatever, but for the most part, there's no access to any electronics whatsoever. It's very, very tight, sealed area. They were only allowed to vote, I believe, 4 times a day for each one, and it has to be a 2/3 supermajority for the next Pope. I think it's any confirmed Catholic is eligible for the papacy. So I believe, if I remember correctly. So we are both candidates. Yeah. We are both candidates.
I promise you, I will not be on one of those ballots.
Again, when it comes down to the College of Cardinals, usually elect amongst themselves. Sure. They're pretty much been vetted by the previous Pope as being kind of like who he feels would be an eligible leader moving forward. So that's usually where the Cardinals come in, that they usually elect amongst themselves.
So we're pretty confident Joe Biden will not be elected this position. Is that?
You never know. My vote was Nick Saban, so he's eligible. I
saw I saw all of his rings laid out there. Put in. Maybe you may have said that to me.
So right now with everything that's going on right now, it has to be a cardinal below the age of 80. 135 eligible voters in the College of Cardinals.
Nick's pretty close on that. Mid 70s.
This is for voting. So I think you could be past 80 and can be elected. But so 133 is going to be participating in the conclave.
Okay.
And of those 133, names that are popping up, and I personally think that there's a Secretary of State, Cardinal Parolin, who is probably, if this gets done quickly, it's going to be because of him, because of his ties with all the other Cardinals and stuff. He pretty much, I guess, could have lobbied for this position for years at this point. Considered less progressive than Francis. All these are pretty much going to be less progressive than Francis.
Right.
Francis was very progressive. I wasn't the biggest fan of his papacy. I mean, respected the seat, but didn't exactly appreciate all of his opinions on everything.
Sure.
But Parolin's probably done, as it stands right now, the most likely person to be elected. We haven't had an Italian pope since John Paul I, so going on close to 50 years on not having an Italian pope, and I do think that this is a time where they may want to return to that, and Parolin would be that Italian that they would want. My personal, we have no say so on this. My personal hope is actually Cardinal Sarah out of Africa. He seems to be a very, very staunch defender of traditional values and traditional family when it comes down to things. He offered some public criticism of Pope Francis and very respected. His biggest issue is going to be his age. He's 79, so people are going to look at this as being a shorter term. So the idea is that you don't want to elect a cardinal that's too young, because then you have years and too much time without change, kind of like we have a John Paul II. And if you have it too short, then you don't have enough time to actually establish anything.
Right.
Kind of like John Paul I, which was only pope for 30 days.
Sure.
Before. So there's a lot of conspiracies in that too. If you ever want to go down an interesting rabbit hole, look into that one. But Sarah's is the person I would love to see, followed by Pizzaballa, who is a cardinal from Jerusalem, who's very traditional, does have a lot of Italian roots on that. But based on everything that I'm hearing, he's very, very traditionally founded in the faith. It would be a return to more conservatism with either one of those.
Right.
But the biggest thing against Pizzaballa, where I think that he's very popular among the Cardinals, what hurts him the most is his age. He's in his 60s.
Okay.
So they really don't want to have that kind of a young pope, because they know that it's going to set a precedent for a very, very long time. Much like John Paul II. So that's kind of a quick rundown. At the end of the day, a lot of times it said whoever goes into the conclave as a pope comes out a cardinal. So a lot of so with what's going on with it also, even with all these names that are touted as being top names, it could easily be none of them. It can be a complete surprise, and I believe Bergoglio which was Francis. But on the other hand, Ratzinger, who was Benedict, was the was the person that everyone speculated would get it, and in fact he did get it.
Sure.
But Bergoglio was not even on the short list, from my understanding.
We definitely want to see, personally, I would like to see a move more towards a conservative.
Looking at Sarah, he's very, oh my gosh.
I know you've been doing a whole bunch of research on this, so I hope we move more towards the center, more conservative on that side, more traditional, I should say. That's my personal perspective. I wasn't a huge fan either of our most recent pope. All right, we're back now. Had a quick, brief break that I had to take care of some business stuff. So Dominic, you were talking about the different popes overall, different ages, and why they were elected. We had some dark horses, we had some front runners. Like I said, I really want to see the church move more back towards traditionalism. I think that the church getting into political matters, while I know there should be some influence there, I don't think that they should try and make their whole job work on that. We should be saving souls, not trying to influence politics, in my opinion. I know there's some arguments for and against that. That's just my personal position overall. So moving on from that, though, Dom, I want to talk a little bit more about business. How's business been as far as social media advertising and stuff like that going? Have you seen an increase, decrease? Has the Trumpism and the tariffs affected you and the sales side? What are you seeing right now?
I definitely am seeing on that side a lot of uncertainty. And when you deal with uncertainty, people don't know what direction they want to go, so they tend to sit on their hands and regress a little bit.
Sure.
But what I can say is that they had a few clients who actually work with that during this time. They they noticed that same uncertainty that other people were retracting, so they took advantage of it and actually having some aggressive and getting some record sales on what they were doing because they took advantage of other people sitting on their hands. It's a lot like what I used to tell people, and I gave them the same example before, was I would spend more on advertising in real estate during the months of October, November, and December, because I knew at that point I had less competition in that real estate game, so that people will remember me while everybody else stopped advertising altogether. So while everyone was talking about how they're this and that, and of course they're going to do it in the summer whenever everything's really good, I would go into the off season so that people would still remember me, and I'm not just somebody that just came up occasionally. That they saw me working 365 days a year, and not just during the summer market or the spring market, really, I should say, whenever people are starting to get that cabin fever and starting to get out more. Again, it's important to advertise there too, but I took advantage of them. It's like it caught them slacking. So now I made up ground on that right there. And I saw so many, I've gained so many clients because of, they said, well, I just see you all the time during the spring.
Sure.
So I was ahead of the game in advertising because they've already got to see me so much while they were sitting at home, while they were sitting on during the holidays when they was cold, whenever they was sick, when I didn't feel like getting outside, and they were on their phones. So they actually saw my face a lot more during those times, while the other agents are like, well, I'm not going to advertise right now because it's not as profitable right now because I'm not going to get as many sales. So it definitely turned out for my advantage during those times.
I would agree with that. I mean, consistency is the most important thing. I would say it's probably the only thing in a lot of cases. And what I see a lot of times on that is exactly what you said. You've got to pregame. You got to have the work on the front end, improve and build trust in order to get the buyers, sellers during the listing season, during the hot markets. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I would do what you're talking about, and I would also hit really hard late February time frame, whether it was multiple open houses or things like that. So March time frame was almost a little bit too late for me because I wanted everybody to see me right before that listing season. While it was still cold outside, while they're still fixing that stuff up or getting ready to fix up their house, they had been seeing me that whole time. And I think that's true. We struggle sometimes in construction because it takes so long for a fix and flip to get out. We've got a fast crew. We probably do 15 to 20 houses a year where we flip houses or turn them into rentals. And so when I buy right now, I'm thinking about essentially 120 days from now, because it's going to take anywhere from a month to a month and a half to get it fixed up. And if I'm actually putting it in a contract, I may be looking 6 months from now, because it may take 30 to 45 days to close because I got to find another house or whatever the case might be. And then you look at actually spending time on the construction side. Well, construction may take me 45 days. Then I've got a list. There's usually a 2 to 4 week time frame because we're not in the hottest market right now. And then you look at, we get a closing, we get a contract, and then it takes another 45 days to close. You got a 6 month span on that. We've got houses right now in April coming into May that we bought in December. And they're finally coming to close, and we've got to close it today. And that's actually one of the reasons why I stepped out. That we started, I think we bought it the first or second week in January, and here we are finally getting to the closing. That was moving pretty quickly on that one. So it's
that's actually really impressive, honestly. I know, and I know in your mind you're like, it took a while, but I mean, reality, how many people can do that in that time span?
Well, we're blessed. I've got a great team built around me between Craig and Becca, our construction managers, all that stuff. Those guys are really good at what they do. And we streamline that. I'm not going to say we have the best finishes. We're not $10 million house finishes. We do a good job on a lot of things, but we really want to apply or really attract affordable housing. That's what we're looking for. We're trying to get a great price for somebody. We're trying to make a fair profit on our side. We're not maximizing that profit per se because we see the volume coming in. We also have had a lot of opportunities where somebody that buys a house from us, then they refer somebody for a rental for us, or maybe they storage units or something like that. So building that bond with the customer and letting them know that we're trying to have their best interests in mind is important for us. But going back to the timing side, and you have to project out 6 months in order to really feel out where your cash flow is going to be. And we've got one project we've been working on for 18 months, which is a larger project. It's a multifamily that also has some retail space. We were hoping it wouldn't take that long. We projected too tight of a time frame, but now we're 6 months over, and we're still working on fixing this thing up. things like that happen. You have to put that into your contingency timelines, if that makes sense.
100%. No, trust me, I'm supposed to be done with some construction projects I'm doing right now.
Sure.
Back in December. Here we are. We're getting close to May.
Well, it's easy to keep pushing that stuff back, and the more subs you have, the more people that you have involved, the harder it is. That's why we moved to having an in-house construction crew for almost everything that we do, so that we can move quickly. And I think that's one of the strengths of our company, is that we can move that way. So, so Dominic, I've got a confession to make. Since we're talking about the Pope, we're talking about Catholicism. So I finished 75 hard a couple months ago in February, and then I did the next phase 1, but I have fallen off the wagon. So I've been eating unhealthy, and I haven't been working out as much as I should, and I'm still working out about 3 or 4 times a week, but it's not the 7 days a week on that side. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just playing the highlights. So many people talk about on social media, they show their highlights. Oh, I benched this, or I ran this, or I lost this weight, but they don't talk about the struggles on the other side. And I'll let you know that it's hard to maintain the 75 hard lifestyle, the live hard lifestyle throughout. And so you start looking at the B-roll sometimes. You look at the issues that I've had. So it's been in my 30-day window, and Andy Frisello makes phase 2 the harder one, because you have to wait 30 days until you go into the next phase of it. So you have 30 days of no discipline. You have 30 days of whatever you want to do, you can do. How will you actually follow through with that? And I'll tell you, I've kept lifting weights as a priority, but I've gained back about 12 pounds on that. Now, some of that's muscle, some of it is eating too much ice cream and stuff like that. But I think it's important to be vulnerable, and I think it's important to show that nobody is a machine, nobody has perfect discipline, and it's the little things that start getting you. It's just, I'm going to have some snacks in the evening, and so now I'm about to get back into the next 30 days, and so now it's time to start stepping back up and getting back into that routine, and then having a checklist of things I have to do on a daily basis. I think it's important to realize that it just starts falling off from, it was 2 exercise sessions a day, then it's 1, then it's, all I can do is lift. And so it runs in that direction. So I thought it was important to let everybody know that there is no perfect diet, perfect plan, perfect discipline.
I mean, absolutely. Believe me, if what determines success is not if you fail. What determines success is how many times you start again. So the only time that you truly ever fail at anything is when you quit completely. So whenever you have little stumbling blocks, anyone who has any kind of intelligence or has a larger viewpoint grasp on something looks at that as a stumbling block or a learning moment. Sure. Learning, saying like, hey, look, well, I stumbled here. What caused this stumble right here? Right. And so then you can go and start making plans to avoid that stumbling block next time. So again, now if you fail and then you look at it and say, hey, look, it's too hard, I quit. That's whenever true failure, or what people call failure, falls upon them, is whenever you actually quit that, what you were doing. And again, there are times also to kind of switch gears on that a little bit, where quitting can be the right answer, sure, depending on how unhealthy it's making your mindset, your lifestyle. Like, for instance, if you're doing something that's not... So for me, I'm talking a little bit to myself right now, that if you start going down a direction in your life where you see the farther you dive into it with those, quote, successes, you realize that you're actually not succeeding, that you're not getting the satisfaction out of the success that you would envision for yourself sometimes. And sometimes whenever the stumbling blocks came, it makes it easier to go in and change directions. And again, that's just kind of a little insight of my own. Sure. Behind the scenes. It's like when you're doing something and it's going well, but you're still not... it's still not reaching what you're not getting the satisfaction or the meaning out of it that you kind of want. I hate to go and sound wishy-washy about things, but sometimes you have to evaluate, what does that end goal look like? And is that end goal something that you truly feel is the attainable success that you really want? Yeah. And again, I'm finding myself in that crossroads in my life, is as I'm looking at things, I'm seeing what that path looks like. And just to be completely honest right now and be a real spot on the radio, it's like when you're looking into the world of social media and stuff, and then you start projecting down the road, and you see where the end game is going, and you realize there is there's a monster looming, monster looming. And then you're like, well, the more successful I am at this, it doesn't matter because the monster at the end is going to beat me no matter what. I hate to go and even sound that way.
Yeah.
But whenever you're talking about the world of digital marketing and social media, that AI is like, there's no way that the human being can compete with that, especially as it's progressing. Sure. So you have to evaluate how things are done down the road. And I do think there's going to be a place for people in the influencer sphere. But I do think that the days of where you have people like me being able to go and figure everything out, and then we start relying on our replacement. We start relying on AI to do our jobs, to help us with our jobs as an employee. For us, that's making us way more efficient. It's only a matter of time before they replace exactly what we can do. And it's coming in a hurry.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's one of the things for me. I'm like looking at this. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing what's going on down the road. I see what's happening. Do you go full steam ahead? And I'm asking you personally, do you go full steam ahead on that? Or do you try to go and it's like, okay, maybe I need to reevaluate where I'm going in life? And again, I'm having a real moment with Richard. Sure. Everyone else behind there is just observers or listeners.
I think the simple thing is adapt or die, right? You have to look and see what those goalposts were, what the real intent was. Was it to build a business? Was it to learn as much as you could and help so many customers? What does that really look like? The people that learn about AI right now, that aren't in Ivy League schools and stuff like that, guys like you and I, will have the ability to be ahead of 50% of the population, 70% of the population. And then it's just changing tunes, right? So you're still playing music, but you're changing tunes. Going from an acoustic guitar to an electric guitar. Well, what's the difference? And then you go into actually be able to make music on a computer instead of making music through an instrument. Those things change drastically, but it also it puts some people out of business, but the people that adapted to it make more money.
You're right.
They're more efficient. I think about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? So at the end of the movie, what happens? And instead of him, I think that's right. Instead of him working inside of the factory hands-on, he's a technician. You learn how to be a technician. You learn how to operate the machine that makes it more efficient, and you make more money in the end. So I think you have to see that as a tool and understand that this is a way for the future, and your goal has to adjust based off of the tool that you have. So my goal is going to be very different if I've got a musket versus if I've got a machine gun.
Absolutely.
I've got a nuke. Those things are weapons of war, but now I use them in a different way. Either one can kill, right? And then that's not the best example, but it just shows technology taking over and then changing the way you do business.
So, and I do agree with that. I guess I guess that does answer my question in ways of like how do you look at this? It's like, okay, as I'm seeing the skill, when you start seeing your skill set being more utilized, it's kind of like during the time of the Industrial Revolution. I guess that's what I'm looking at right now. It's like there's a point in the Industrial Revolution where the true craftsmen were being replaced.
Yep.
And that right there to where a lot of these crafts are becoming more and more of a lost art because of things can be done efficiently, cheaply, and done in mass production and stuff.
That's right.
And so you have to learn to, again, I guess what I'm saying is have to figure out how do you adapt to that and how do you change, or do you be like, well, I see in the future that there is a strong callback to do these other things that are what we say AI proof. Do you go down the road of, I guess in this instance, do you go down the road of weaponizing the technology that's coming and risk being replaced? Or do you go counter and saying, I'm going to foolproof my future in a sense of where it'd be impossible to be replaced by this?
Well, it's never going to be impossible. I mean, they're going to continue to have more technology. So what I see on this is that you can either put yourself in a position where you utilize AI, make as much money as you can until it replaces you, and then use the money that you've made in order to invest, in order to draw interest, whatever that is. Use those tools as much as you can, because I look at this phone that I have right here. Well, how many people use this phone on a daily basis, 95% of the population, right? But there's still 5% that need a push button. They don't want a smartphone. They don't want this. So there's a niche for that too. It's just a smaller niche. Are you okay with taking that smaller profit margin or that smaller segment and working with them? Or do you want to be a part of the revolution with AI? Do as much as you can, use these tools, teach people how to use these tools, because there's still an education aspect to it too.
Oh, gosh, yes. Yes.
And so if you teach 25 businesses how to use AI effectively, and they pay you really well for 2 to 3 years, and you make them a lot of money, do you have enough money in your bank account to not have to work again? I mean, you can look at it from that perspective. Instead of thinking about this long-term gain, there's also a lot of folks that are looking for that big lick on the front end. Then they have their, what is the term where everybody has universal income or something like that? You've already created your own universal income. So you already made the money that you need to make. So then if you're successful at continuing to do social media, great. If you're not, that's not a big deal either, because you already accomplished your goals. The goal, in my opinion, nowadays should not be, I want to build a business that grows in this way and I can continue to pick up more and more customers if it's in a business like you're talking about. Because you know that the monster is coming, it's going to overcome you. So it should be a dollar amount. How many people can I help in order to make this amount of money in order to take care of my family? Right. Or to invest in AI. Should I reinvest in AI since it's going to take over? Should every dollar I make, we put back into AI in some sort of AI company, and then I know that it's going to keep growing. I'm not going to fight it. I know that the automobile is going to make money. So if I'm raising horses, every horse I sell, I'm putting money into Henry Ford because I know that's the future. That may be another option. That's just some of the things. I don't know exactly how you can apply what you do in that sense and how you could keep it from overtaking or become more valuable than AI in that field, because it's all based off of you figuring it out.
Right.
And AI has already figured it out.
Yeah, that's the big thing about it. It's like it's the like I said, the best way I looked at it is kind of like that looming monster at the end,
Yeah.
It's kind of like, where everything is going to end and how do you handle whenever it gets to that point. I guess it's one of those looming questions, I wouldn't say fear, because it's not, I'm not scared of it. It's more of like, that the day of reckoning is coming, and are you prepared? You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to that, because it's
about in terms of athletics, right? So you have an NFL player, you have a college player, whether that's football, baseball, basketball, whatever that is. What is looming for them? Age, right? So they are going to work as hard as they can, make as much money as they can during that short time frame, because they know at 30 they ain't playing football anymore. Most people aren't, unless you're Frank Gore, then you're 70, or LeBron James, right?
Right.
So there's exceptions, but if you're not the exception, then what are those guys trying to do? Make as much money, provide as much value, get as many deals as they can, because they know that their next life, once they're no longer able to throw the ball anymore or shoot, their next life is a whole different realm. So they need to have that nest egg to be able to launch into it. That's what I would do. Or you just abandon. I don't think you should abandon, but that's what you could do. Those guys could say, I'm not, even though I'm only going to make $10 million for the next 3 years, eventually I'm going to be hurt or I can't play anymore, so let's just not worry about it.
Yeah,
you're not going to do that.
Right.
So I think you try and make as much money as you can. You put the work in. If it's truly what, if there's value there, if you can make as much money as you can. If it's not valuable, if you can make more money doing something else, then you look at something else.
Yep.
If that's your end goal. Now, if you just love doing it, that's a different story.
Well, and that's where it comes down to me personally, and for everyone else is like, you see the end game, and again, you have to ask the questions, or I'm asking the questions for myself: is, am I making excuses because I see what's coming up ahead as an excuse for the lack of satisfaction I have in the field that I'm working right now, or am I being realistic? And you know what I'm saying? It's like, how do you balance? How do you look at something and determine, is this crossroads? Is this crossroads based on fear, or is it based on trying to be proactive?
Yeah.
Does that make sense right there? It's like having determined that right there. And I guess all crossroads are that way. Is like, are you trying to say, am I scared of the challenge, or do I really see this as being non-beneficial?
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because we can really do a lot of mental gymnastics about how to turn something that we're just unwilling to do into something that is just excuse our way out of doing it.
Sure.
But then there's also the other side of it all is where the challenge can come up, and that, you know, I do have that competitive spirit in me of saying, no, I'm going to stick with it because I made my bed. This is the bed that I'm having, while you're going down a road that's not, while you're still going down the path that's not the most productive and is not the best use of your own time and talent.
Yes.
And again, for me, I'm very conscious of time and talents. I did a lot of research in my day about evaluating that concept right there.
Sure. I think that we'll have to finish on this, but I think you've got to look at your industry as a whole. And specifically to you, are there still yellow books made right now? You know, yellow books used to be the thing, right? Well, when they were no longer the thing because of the internet, they still sold them, but they also transitioned to something else. They also put money that they've made from that into doing the same thing, but on a digital space, right?
Right.
So this is just the next phase of that. And so how do we transition to something or be a part of the AI? Can you get an AI tutorial, create that yourself? Or could you teach people AI? Because that, to me, that's the biggest thing. Like, a lot of people see that as a Google, and it's way better than a Google.
Oh, gosh.
Any kind of AI feature, right?
Yeah. 100%.
So you and I were talking about ChatGPT 2 years ago, and looking at that type stuff. So how many people are my age? How many people are 50, 60, 70, and they have no idea what you even do with AI?
Yeah, besides making virtual action figures.
That's right. But you could teach them that and save them tons of money.
Right.
And how much is that? Probably more than what your business is right now. If you apply that and say, I do this, but what do you really do? Well, I help people get in front of other people for sales. That's what I do. So it doesn't matter what platform that's on. We can still do that, but now instead of using Facebook, now you have ChatGPT. Now you have AIs. You still are getting in front of people. So I think that's it. Dom, tell folks where they can find us, then we'll sign off.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Please like our content. It really helps out a lot. The Rumble channel is growing. I do feel like that there's a lot of future. That's a future place for a lot of traditional or conservative content. We're not a conservative. We by no means we label ourselves conservative. But I do feel like that is a great platform.
Sure.
So please check us out on Rumble. Gosh, cannot speak.
All right. We hope you guys have a great week. Thank you.